All right, joining me now, always one of my favorite guests, although it's been 2 years since he's been on, which is just unforgivable. He is the original tribal chief, Roman Reigns. Roman, how are you?
I'm doing well, Jimmy. Thanks for having me, man. Yeah, it's been
No,
too long, too long.
too
But
long. I
sometimes we got
appreciate
to
you
wait for
doing this.
good things.
Listen, I've always said whenever I have anyone from WWE on, it's so weird that the best thing sometimes is for you guys to go away and then come back. It builds up the anticipation. So hopefully the WWE universe feels that way about this podcast.
Well, they say the heart grows fonder, right, with the
Yeah.
absence. So sometimes we got
Well,
to take a little break.
I was going to go backwards and start with WrestleMania, but since you said that, let me start with this because I was going to ask it anyway. What is that moment like for you when you return at SummerSlam and you come out? Is that moment even describable? And the crowd just is going completely bonkers.
Um, no, it's not. I guess it's more of a relief than anything because I think everybody goes through the whole, are they going to care? And I can say I was very blessed being that our storyline was, continued and we have such strong characters that we're keeping everything relevant. So there was a build up for me, and lo and behold, I became a babyface without doing anything, and not even being on screen. So I think that's just a testament to, I guess, all the hard work and the collaboration and the storytelling and just all the equity we put into this thing. So for that to be able to happen, to disappear and then come back and then bam, it's on like that. That was
I should have mentioned at the top. We've got the Survivor Series this Saturday. I think that's probably my second favorite pay-per-view after WrestleMania, just from an old school perspective. I used to love those matches with there's like 5-on-5, and we've got it on Saturday. Of course, it's on Peacock, on the WWE Network on Peacock. The family is feuding. Got the Bloodline versus the new Bloodline. So, what are you looking? Give me a little something on that match. It's first match back for you, not first match back, but with your family. The family is just reunited, you and your cousins, and now we have CM Punk in the mix, which we'll get into. But I would imagine this is you're looking forward to this one a lot on Saturday with the Survivor Series.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different variables and dynamics at play here. I mean, just first off, to be in a match just full of your families, whether you're fighting with or against each other, it's pretty neat, in the grand scheme, just looking from God's perspective, it's something I'm very blessed and very fortunate and grateful for, to be able to share the ring and, have all our family see us in there together. It's pretty neat. And then, to add some of the personalities that we have added, a CM Punk, Sami Zayn, even, Paul, these are outside figures who are working in some way closer than others. I look at Paul like chosen family. Sammy's one of those guys that just slowly but surely, endeared himself in. And then Punk is like this crazy, who knows what kind of in-law is. How did this even happen? Who are you here with? You know what I mean? Like checking the guest list. Like, hold on, how did you get in here? And then another. I don't even know if to categorize him as a young talent, but someone like a Bronson Reed, to kind of be pivoted and put into the showcasing and the spotlight and to deliver in the capacity that he has. It's pretty cool, to bring all those things together. And it's a hell of a match too. This thing isn't easy. It's not, this is a heck of a story to tell. Um, so it's got a lot of really cool ingredients that I think we can really come up with something that's good for everybody. But it's one of those deals that you just never know. It's live. Who knows what's going to happen out there? So that's what makes it kind of nerve-wracking and incredibly exciting all at the same time.
It's funny. Your description of Punk being in the match is you sort of describe what Thanksgiving's going to be like for a lot of people. Like
For some people, right?
Yeah. Who are
like,
you? How'd you get in here? What are you doing?
Yeah, this guy with all the tattoos. How did he get in here?
You know, it's funny. I always want you guys to come on, and I appreciate it so much when you guys come on, sort of maybe out of character, quote unquote, and give us such the behind the scenes look. And I always love that. In a weird way, I almost want you in character for a minute, because the one thing we didn't touch on there is like what's going on with the Wiseman. Everyone's expecting, is this the end of the Paul Heyman Roman Reigns relationship? CM Punk, the original Paul Heyman guy, is back. We didn't see Paul for a while. Came back looking tanned and rested. That whole layer alone on top of the match will have people tuning in. And
well, yeah, I just gave you, I can speak from a broad perspective, but yes, now you're talking about the right now. I was just kind of putting it all into this 4-year, even just narrowing it down to just the past 2 years. But yeah, you're speaking specifically about right now. Paul's been incredibly shady, if you don't ask me. People ask, and I've seen some of the speculation of, well, you didn't answer his phone calls and all this and that. But at the end of the day, when I take my leave, there's no question of what I'm doing. I'm recessing back to family, to change the hat, to put on that fatherhood hat, to refocus. That way I can come in and come back and dominate and run the show and represent my family at the highest capacity, at the highest standard possible. So there's no questions when I leave. The question is what happened with him. So, there's a lot of things that we just haven't had the time to really, dive into. And that's just been kind of this train wreck of a return that it's been for me. I thought wearing the crown was a hell of a burden. Trying to put all the pieces together when power behooves you is incredibly difficult. So yeah, right now I have just as many questions for the Wiseman as you, and I just haven't had the time, just due to our busy schedules, moving in and out. I don't stay in the towns. I jet in and out that day and that night, so he doesn't get much of my time when he does. But there, like you said, there's a lot of questions that need to be answered for sure.
Just so rude. He wouldn't text you his number. So rude.
And that's the thing. I'm not a technology guy. It took you 2 years to get me on this phone. You know what I'm saying?
I remember the first interview we did. You didn't have Twitter. You didn't have Instagram. You told me you would never be on it and all that. So
none of that crap. None of it. I don't want it. Someone tried to get me on WhatsApp the other day. I think it might have been Paul, or I don't even know who it was, but maybe that's what it was. Is I just refused. I don't want more apps. I don't want more connectivity. I don't need it. We're connected enough in this world. And I've drawn a line of how much I'm willing to do that. I still like a bit of the old school. I still like being a traditional man.
All right. So I got to inquire though. What social media app do you use the most? Like, do you scroll through Instagram Reels? Are you a TikTok scroller, or you don't do any of it?
No, I like to, if I'm actually going to just look to be entertained or look, X would probably be the spot to just, seeing, I guess it's more of a discussion based, app. I'm not really into Instagram. I don't really care to just look at people's photos or people lying about what they're doing, or, setting up this great moment of what you're about to eat. I don't care about that stuff.
Yeah.
But YouTube is probably what I enjoy the most, which is, I don't really look at that as like social media.
I agree.
I guess more of it can be anything you want it really, but I try to use it more of as an educational tool.
Gotcha. All right. I want to circle back, because like I said, it's been 2 years since you've been on, and you had an unbelievably epic WrestleMania. So I want to talk about that for a few minutes, if you don't mind, and then we'll come back to now. So obviously you have this historic run as WWE champion. I think it was 1,300 plus days, carried the company for a few years. WrestleMania comes, you drop the belt to Cody Rhodes. Are you still able to enjoy the epicness of what that was? Because it was a perfect WrestleMania main event with, we saw Cena, we saw The Undertaker, Seth Rollins came in, The Rock, obviously. How could I forget that? And I had Cody on this podcast like the week after and asked him the same question, but he's obviously coming at it from a completely different perspective. You dropped the belt, the title. I don't know. I know there's words you're not supposed to use or whatever. Those days are over, I think. But can you still enjoy it being on that end of it and appreciate what you put on for the fans?
I think, that's the easy part, is appreciating, because we were able to just chapter it off. I think anytime you do good work, it's important to appreciate, the hard work that you put in. And if, this is subjective matter, so it does take the opinions of people to kind of buff this feeling, but it was received, very well. And I guess the objective part is the business behind it. So I think, yes, it was easy to be able to celebrate that, enjoy it, even to this day, to be able to look at it fondly and think like, yeah, man, that was awesome. But the burden is, how do we do it again? How do we complement it and just continue? Like, how do you make the sequel better, or the trilogy? But how do you continue to do it? Because I'm not ready to stop at this point. And people laughed at us a while back when it may have been me or Paul. I'm not sure who said it, but the old baseball innings thing.
Third inning, yeah.
There was maybe a year ago or so, I was like, we're stretching it, but we're not at this point. I see it's a whole new vision. I forget where I was driving today, but just kind of visualizing what could be in the next 2 years, what could be in the next 3 years, blocking these things off just a year chunk at a time. And honestly, it wouldn't be possible if we weren't where we are now. The creative freedom, the collaboration that we have, our leadership, being Triple H, Paul Levesque, Nick Khan, the way he runs it up from the business side, but also, having that trust in not only Triple H, but the rest of us, because it just trickles down, to be able to have that trust in us, to be able to perform and go out there and do it like we do it. And yeah, so I think it's important to be able to appreciate what you've done, because what's the point of doing it if you don't, especially
Right.
if it was good.
Well, even I asked Cody this question too. I mean, you or him are in it. You are in it. This is your job. This is what you're doing. But you have these spectacular moments where John Cena's music hits and The Rock is coming in, and then The Undertaker, the surprise of all surprises. Even in it, do you have a moment where you say in your head, it's pretty freaking cool?
Oh yeah, I mean, you're there, you're in it. Yeah, at this point, this is the beauty of the double down, and and I don't like to get too much into the structure of the terminologies and stuff, but
Yeah.
when you're that deep and you've taken, their best shots, and you're trying to gather yourself, and you're having a Hall of Fame, list being called out essentially. We had the best seats in the house. We're right in the eye of the storm, right in the middle of that hurricane, and I could hear those reactions better than anybody, which is great. And it's hard because the stadium, it's open. Luckily, it warmed up the second night. It was cold as balls that first night.
Right.
But that second night, you could feel that energy, and just I thought the way everybody was used, just everything tied together in a really nice way, and I think it closed without us even trying to really emphasize any, not importance, but it wasn't like the focus. But it was kind of cool seeing that Attitude Era close into whatever we are, but still we're so deeply tied to that generation, with Triple H, being, the head of creative, and Dwayne still being tied in deeply from a storyline. It's really neat to see there was a giant torch being passed almost, amongst all of us, as opposed to just one superstar to one. It's neat when a company can kind of do that within itself. I think that's what that moment was.
All right, let me tell you guys about Underdog. Underdog is the place to play if you're a sports fan looking to win money while watching sports. With over 5 million happy players and $2 billion won, Underdog makes it fun and easy to cash in on all your favorite athletes' performances. Just call your shot by picking higher or lower on 2 or more player stats. Underdog is for everyone, so you can make a play with only $1 or go big and win up to 1,000 times your money. So turn every touchdown into a win with Underdog. Do you think Patrick Mahomes will rack up higher than 300 yards next week? That Mahomes will get lower than 300 yards next week? Cook up some entries for shot to win, real cash prizes, all NFL season long. Underdog also offers you vulture protection. Yes, that's right. If you select a designated running back to score a touchdown in your pick'em entry and that running back gets vultured, Underdog will rescue your entry. Also, there's tons of promos Underdog is offering. Underdog is the best place to play pick'em, so sign up and deposit now using the code Sports Illustrated to get up to $1,000 in bonus cash instantly. Underdog's offering profit boost, discounts, and free picks as well. What I love about Underdog is 2 things. Well, plenty of things, but the 2 best: easy to use, great interface, simple, and then I just love the action, higher or lower. You don't have to worry about digging deep into doing research for this, that. It's higher or lower on stats. Patrick Mahomes passing yards, Christian McCaffrey rushing yards, Justin Jefferson receiving yards. Higher or lower. That's it. Fun and simple. And then, of course, great bonuses from Underdog. Download the app today and use the code Sports Illustrated to get up to $1,000 in bonus cash instantly. Again, download the app today. Use the code Sports Illustrated to get up to $1,000 in bonus cash instantly. Must be 18 or older, 19 or older in Alabama, Nebraska, and Colorado for some games, 21 and older in Massachusetts and Arizona, and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Void in Colorado. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. In Arizona, you can call 1-800-NEXT-STEP or text NEXT STEP to 53342. In New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. There was a lot of talk when you hit Seth Rollins with the chair that was like an intentional callback to the Shield. Can you was that what that was supposed to be, or is that wrestling fans thinking too much?
Anytime I have a chance to fuck him up, I'm going to take it. Pretty much. You got to bleep that, you got to bleep it. But that's
We're
how
not
I feel about
bleeping it.
him.
No,
yeah, that's how I feel about
it.
him. Anytime I have a chance to pull the trigger on him, I'm going to. He's a constant reminder and a lesson to myself on, who to trust and how to trust them. And if you can't, how to keep them. And that's where I like to keep him a chair's length away.
It's amazing because CM Punk is coming into the Survivor Series match. And then there's obviously still, it looks like, a nice feud there to be had with Seth. And there's still, you got to get your belt back from Cody, or title. So there's still a lot for you to do here. A lot of
work to be done.
A lot of work to be done.
A lot of work to be done. A lot of money to be made. But yes, hopefully we just stay healthy. But yeah, there's so many different things. At this point, getting the big title back is important. We're in the middle of sorting out the Ulapala, sorting out the family business. That's far more personal. And at times I wish we could have been able to handle this, at the dinner table, breaking bread and the easier, older way. But we've done it this way. But at the end of the day, we can't take our eye off the ball. Cody's the man right now. And nobody in my bloodline likes that. Nobody wants that. I don't know. Jay seems to be friends with everybody these days. But at the end of the day, we want the power, man. We want that stroke. We want the juice. We want to be prominent. We want to be positioned as the tippity top. So until you get the Universal title back, it doesn't matter.
We've done this so many times now. I feel like you know my questions, because I was just going to ask you a couple of questions about your relationship with Cody. I had Cody on the week after WrestleMania, and I had asked him, like I said to you, and I said to him, obviously that went down as one of the all-time, if not the all-time WrestleMania main events. I asked you about being in it, the epicness of it, and I said to him, when it's all over, said and done, and all of you are finally backstage through the curtain, I said to Cody, do you and not Roman, but Joe have a moment, like, look what we just did. That was awesome. The payoff, anything personal. And he said, I wrote it down because I watched it this morning. We didn't need to have that moment. He was nowhere to be found in Gorilla when I got back, and I look forward to when we actually do have that moment and get to see each other. Did you ever have that moment?
No. No.
He said there was no need to have
that. There's no need. But if you want to sit out there and babyface for 4 hours, then I'm not. I ain't waiting. You know what I mean? Especially at that point. But
so wait. So would you have waited for him if there wasn't that whole celebration, or like you left? You were going to leave no matter what.
Well, what's waiting? You know what I'm saying? I mean, what kind of time are we talking about here?
Well, there was a lot of celebration.
We got to keep it moving. There's a lot of stuff. Exactly. And there's a lot to be had in that night as well.
Yeah.
And I don't live in Philly. So like I said, there's some jet fuel to be burnt, and I had to go. So you know what? And I think he hit it on the head. I'll give him that. We know what we did. We were both out there.
So is it
you can thank each other and all that old stuff, but we put our bodies on the line together. And I think that's thanks enough.
Yeah. There's like a famous story of Rock and Austin at one of the Manias when The Rock beats him and he says thank you to him. You know, that's why I was wondering if there was something like that. So wait, are you done with the bus? Are you like flying only now? Or we still have, or there's no more bus?
We got to have the bus.
Oh, you have the bus. So the bus and the plane. Oh my God.
Plane to the bus. Yes.
It's a lot of expenses.
The bus is like the house. That's like having like a little apartment. You need your own space. You know what I mean?
Is there a competition among the wrestlers about who has the nicest bus?
Not if you have the nicest bus.
So you have the nicest bus. All right.
I don't know. Honestly, I've never been on anyone else's bus recently. You know, years ago, I've been on John's and saw Punk's way back in the day. But I don't think I've been on anybody's bus since then. But I'm sure everybody's. They're tour buses, for crying out loud, and you know they're all pretty nice. You know what I mean?
Right. They could have worked that into a storyline when Cody's bus went on fire the night before your main event there, and you know could have had another.
Oh yeah, that did happen. That did happen. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, it's funny. I talked about, we've been doing this a while. I looked it up. We did, our first interview was in 2017, and that was where I embarrassed myself and asked you how it felt to be a 42-year-old wrestler when you were a 32-year-old wrestler. But now you are 39. I'm almost there. And you've talked about a lot to do, but everyone knows you're also on a lighter schedule. So is it just keep giving me a little bit of a lighter schedule and I'm going to be here for a long time? Is it my body's getting, I think Seth recently said he doesn't know how much longer he could do this. So I'm just curious about you and your future in this business as one of the top guys, because it's hard to leave when you're as hot as you are, on top where you are. But I know you have a lot of little kids at home. So what's the thought process there?
Well, I guess it depends on what day you ask me and how I'm feeling that day, you know, because
it's a real answer right there. Yeah.
The body, sometimes the body feels like a train wreck, and I can vividly picture Sheamus hitting me with a chair somewhere over in Europe, you know what I mean? And I've done that dance with a lot of the guys all over the world, you know, year over year. So sometimes, no matter what you do, you just wake up and you're sore and your body hurts. So sometimes on those days, I tell you, man, what's going on here? You know, everything's good. Maybe we could stop. But then, like you said, there's just so much meat left on the bone. There's so much to the performances that I'm learning, not only about myself, but just the performance in general and how to manipulate them, how to get better at them, how to control the crowd better, just all these different things, so many different stories to tell, new family members coming in. So it's one of those deals where as long as I can, kind of like you hear athletes, as long as you can continue to practice, like as long as you feel good enough to practice, then I can play. As long as I feel good enough to continue to train and make myself physically in shape to go out there and fall down. That's the thing, it's just the falling down. If we can figure out how not to fall down and take bumps, then man, I'd say bring in the double, like cut, and that, we just front Hollywood, I guess. But
Right.
there's just something about being out there in the middle of the storm, that simultaneous live reaction, that making movies is very cool, but there's just something about having that crowd right there in the palm of your hand that you can't emulate that. You can't duplicate it. It's WWE and that's it.
You mentioned earlier, I think you said you were gone 4 months, you didn't do anything, and you came back a babyface. And there's been a lot over the years with WWE about there's no babyface, there's no heel, it doesn't matter. Everyone's themselves now. But it does seem like there's still heels and babyfaces. Cody's obviously on this babyface run. People want him to be a heel. Do you care about heel, face? Is it just what the story dictates? Like, when you get an opportunity to get that title back from Cody, do you want it to be as a babyface? Do you want it to be as a heel, or you don't give a shit? It's whatever it is.
Yeah, I don't care. I don't look at it like that. It's
how do you
modern.
look at it? I want to know how you look at it.
I respect the template that we come from for the art form's sake. And, when you start drawing, you need colors, right? And you got to kind of define a few things. And we went black and white, good versus evil. And that gives you your starting point. But once you've seen a few generations of different types of storytelling and, seeing a very similar story told over and over, and the audience changes and what they're exposed to and all that jazz. But to me, I think it's important to just keep the continuity and be the character. It took me 39 years to GPS the skin that I wear when I go out there as a performer now, as the tribal chief.
Original.
The only. So I think that's why it's important to stick to those guns and not try to be something you're not, because that's the true thing to do. That's the most authentic thing to do, from my standpoint. And yes, you hear the crowd, you take in account what they're doing. And that's why I referred to it as a babyface reaction. You know what I mean? But if I want to turn them on the dime, I can do it. If I want to,
right.
And it doesn't have to be something dastardly, or it can be just the way I'm carrying myself, maybe a little bit. I don't know. But those are the things I would much rather just stick to my guns of what I've been doing and stick to the character.
I'm going to make a statement as a wrestling fan. And if you think it's ridiculous, just tell me I'm an idiot. I won't be offended. It seems like it's a lot easier to be a heel than a babyface from this perspective. I feel like if you're a good heel, and you've proven this, you don't have to talk that much. A couple of words, you get the crowd incensed. When you're a babyface, you have to constantly be talking, it seems like, and it would get annoying.
I think that's just I think from many different standpoints, even just from a basic, the mechanics of a match, you know what I mean? The way that looks like being a heel is easier. It's a little more, less awkward. Trying to be a good guy is not easy. Trying to be a cool good guy it's not easy. Trying to be extremely relatable to where it doesn't affect people negatively, to where you're like, oh, he's trying way too hard. That type of thing is not easy at all, especially when they're running you out there in underwear. You know what I mean? But yeah, I would say, I think it just comes with, Cena was a white meat baby face who talked quite a bit, and he was around for 10 years. Hogan, he said a lot of words, but it wasn't like these crazy long promos. They were, he had some of this kind of Trump, we'll just jazz it up and put some fireworks around it. But, my information is pretty succinct. I'm not giving you too much to hold on to.
Right.
So I think it just is based off of that. But I think Steve wasn't, although that's a different kind of, I'm not like me, but that anti-hero, you know what I mean? John was a very white meat, very marketing friendly baby face,
Yeah. I think, listen, I would never, ever take anything away from Austin or The Rock, and I don't want this to ever come across like that. But I think they were helped by the Attitude Era and basically having no rules. I mean, for the most part. I saw a clip. It's funny. I saw a clip I was scrolling through, I think, Instagram, and something came up. It was an old clip of an old SmackDown. Michael Cole and Jerry Lawler were on the announce team, and it was The Rock. And this was early in his run, and it was a Thanksgiving thing. I guess that's why someone posted it. And he did a whole thing about poontang pie, and he had a whole. It was a whole table set up of pie, and making fun of Michael Cole for never having poontang pie, and going through pumpkin pie and blue, and then they had a little bit of an advantage in that they could do stuff like that in terms of being like the perfect cool babyface.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, they're a product of their time. They didn't make the rules. They weren't the ones, with the boundaries of the ratings. So they were they had a lot more freedom. I mean, I always think, how cool would it be if the Bloodline was sitting in a strip club drinking, whiskey, talking in the shadows, and there's really different ways to kind of adult these things up. But at the end of the day, they had to go out there and perform and put their bodies on the line. They had to go out there and tell, somewhat, there had to be some continuity to their storytelling, and they had to, create elements where it's characters bouncing off of each other. So, their rules were a lot looser, which kind of makes it a little bit easier to some regard. But at the same time, you have to kind of keep that. I don't know if it's even a moral compass, but how far is too far? There's a weird responsibility to try to toe that line too. So
there could be a lot, like the tribal chief in a strip club would be they could do a lot of fun. Like you just do this, and that's when
that was a terrible example. I don't know who came up with that.
That was a good example. All right, I just mentioned The Rock. I should have gotten into this earlier, but let me talk about The Rock for a little bit, because you worked with him at Mania, and we covered Mania a little bit, and a couple of other things with. I said to you earlier, there's still so much to do, because you have this now situation with CM Punk and the Wiseman. There's still Seth Rollins. You still have to get your title, and we still have not had the Rock Roman match. Would you, it's hard to predict anything, but you think that'll still happen eventually down the road? Give fans a little tease, or we think we'll still get that one day?
I think our fan base and the company's proven that if our fans are loud enough and passionate enough about something, we're a company who, we're not being dictated to. And of course, we have a vision for where we're trying to go, but we know who the consumers are. We know who's paying their hard-earned money, and we want to satisfy those people. But we have to do it in a regard that's going to attract more eyes and bring more people in. And Dwayne's always going to be in that role. He's always going to be a guy that just magnetizes and makes the broadcast even bigger. So if that's the case and that the people want it, but that's what's cool is, man, we've had such a strong, set of talent in our roster. And who would have thought that Cody could have had so much admiration that it could have broke up the plans of Tribal Chief versus the People's Champion. You know what I mean? Like that in its own right is pretty outstanding. It's amazing. So I think that just kind of goes back to, there's a lot of meat on the bone. And if Dwayne can't come in and just boom, this is how it is, brother, then that's when you're cooking up with some really good ingredients. And I think that's why he is tied in the way he is. That's why he's a part of the board and a part of everything the way he is, because we're at an unprecedented time right now. Business is great, and we just want to continue to push things up. So if that's what the people want and the people's champ is down, I'm sure we can make something happen.
Once again, you knew where I was going. This is getting a little scary. We heard from Cody's side about he was told it was going to be Rock Roman by Triple H. And we heard the Rock side where he said he called an audible and said it's got to be Cody against Roman. We have not heard your side of this thing or your opinions on this. So I would love to get your take on Were you upset it went away from Rock Roman? Were you happy to do Roman Cody? I know there was maybe some controversy about Cody was supposed to have a certain facial expression on SmackDown when The Rock was put in the match, and he didn't, and then the crowd went nuts and it switched. Like I said, we've heard from Cody, we've heard from Dwayne, we have not heard from Roman. So I'd love to hear your perspective on what took place going into Mania.
It didn't matter to me. I was the main event no matter what. You know, I'm the guy that everybody wanted to dance with. So, you know, everybody wanted to, I'm the hot chick, you know what I mean? Everybody wanted to take me out. So it was one of those things where we just need to get there and defend this thing. It doesn't matter who it is. They're trying to stop history from happening. They're trying to, you know, take us off of the you know, the pinnacle right now. So it was the same task at hand for me.
No disappointment that you didn't get Rock Roman just because of The Rock being the movie star and the icon and all this stuff?
I never really looked at it like that. It was almost more so of like this kind of the same sentiment when I got all deep on you and you said get back into tribal chief character. That situation where, you know, when you zoom out and you see like all these family members together, when you're able to do that with someone, you know, from your family, when you're able to do that with people from your bloodline, there's just something about that I don't know, maybe you can ask the Kelsey brothers or even the Harbaughs. Like, it's just this weird, you know, it's just sharing such a crazy, huge main event level moment with so many eyes on it. The whole world is watching, you know, especially with the way we have it now. But it's, I wasn't even looking at them like, oh, this is, you know, DJ. It was just, it's just me and another family member, you know what I mean? Like,
right.
and I mean that with the utmost love and respect. And it's really hard to even put in words how that could make a man feel, you know what I mean? And just how proud I am of being able to attempt to articulate this. We're very fortunate to be a part of this family.
When you just look at it on paper, I mean, it really is insane that it was supposed to be Rock Roman, and then they change it. It's Cody Roman, and it couldn't have been better. Like without the Rock was still there as a presence, but who would have? I guess just shows you what the fans got what they wanted. They responded. You guys obviously responded and put on an unbelievable show for everyone. So, I'm obsessed with that WrestleMania, as if you couldn't tell. But I'm going to get off of that. I want to talk about Netflix for a minute, and then just a couple of football, because I know you're a football fan, and then I'll get you out of here. I would imagine you guys are so pumped up for Netflix for Monday Night Raw starting in the new year. Now you're on SmackDown. So my guess, just in terms of like how the business and the media works, we're going to probably see you on Netflix and on Raw for a little bit, or just once. Or do you know, or you not know? Or I mean, if the Monday Night Raw after 5 billion years on USA is going to go to Netflix, we need the tribal chief.
It seems like that's what a lot of people are saying. I'm not exactly sure. Honestly, I'm just trying to get to the premiere. I'm on the premiere. I don't think I can share too much more than that at this point.
That's fine.
We haven't scheduled my exact dates for going into WrestleMania from, you know, Rumble forward. But that is definitely a topic that has to be addressed. And it's, as you said, it's a very understandable one for the impact, the amount of money that's, you know, a part of this deal. I completely understand. So these are all great problems to have. Nobody loves being in the tug of war more than me.
Right. So let me ask you this.
It usually works out pretty good.
So if you're on SmackDown and you know it, now let me start with this. There are people who are totally misguided and think that because Raw's on Netflix, it's going to be, you know, rated R or X, or everyone's just going to come out and say the George Carlin 7 words and women will be ripping their shirts off. It's not going to happen. But I would imagine there's still going to be
boobs everywhere, just boobs nonstop, everywhere.
Yeah. Again, puppies, like Jerry Lawler used to say. I would imagine they're going to have a little more leeway, though, on Netflix than USA for SmackDown. If you see that, would that make you say, I'd rather be there where I can get away with a little more? Or do you not expect, or do you think it's going to be the same rules for both shows? Or would you be intrigued to go where maybe you could get a little grittier and do the scene in the strip club?
No to the boobs and no to the strip club. No, honestly, I don't even think about that. That's something that has not even crossed my mind. It's not something that I feel. Look, if we come up with a situation or someone's collaborating, like, hey, what do you think about, this or that look or this vision? Then I would take it and the suggestion, and chew on it. But I don't ever sit there and think like, man, how can I drop an F-bomb, or how can a cigar being in my hand make me look cooler? We're at a point where I say the word yeet and it gets a crazy pop. You know what I mean? I say, I don't know, to a question, and it's got people hanging, so I just don't see the point or the need at this point. But if we feel that need, then yes, I feel like I can make that happen too.
Yeah, I only ask because, like I said, I mean, you'd be surprised, but the expectation from a lot of WWE fans is that Netflix is going to be Attitude Era WWE. I mean, that's what
we're going to raunch it up. So. Yeah, I mean, I think some stuff, depending, I think as long as it's logical, as long as it makes sense, as long as it's not insulting and there's no crazy gap of like, well, how'd we get there? Like, like all of a sudden it just, if there's no continuity there and all of a sudden we're not, and the transition's way too fast, then I don't think it works. But, some people may, be in a situation, or there may be a segment that calls for it. And it might work,
Yeah. Well, a lot of it also stems from the storyline you guys were involved with in the lead up to Mania, where The Rock was sort of pushing the envelope, shall we say, with some of his dialogue. Yeah. And that's a character choice, and that's on the individual too. Yeah. So it just depends on what, and that comes with, not everybody's Dwayne, so it comes with equity, and you have to kind of, you got to be able to walk that walk if you're going to talk that talk, and you certainly can. You mentioned something earlier. I think you were talking about sort of your future, and you talked about the rush of the live crowd, and you mentioned something about movies. Is Hollywood something you want to pursue, you will pursue, you're interested in, or is 100% your focus WWE right now, or is following the path of Dwayne and John Cena in your future?
I mean, I think there's a lot of, I've said this before, there's so many tools and skills that I've built and learned along my way in WWE that it would probably be a waste if I didn't somewhat transition and use some of these skills. I don't know if I would want to go to the full extent of Dwayne or even John. Dave is very busy as well. He seems to have a little more balance in the way he conducts his schedule, maybe. But you can tell he wants that. He wants to be that guy too. I want to make good. If I'm going to make movies, I want to make really good movies, and I want to be a part of really good stories. I want to work with a really good crew, people, directors and production teams who know what they're doing, people I can learn from. I want to work with other experienced actors. I don't have an ego, so one of my things is I want to be able to work with people who know what they're doing and bring something great to the table as well that I can, take with me, steal a couple pages from their playbook, and we can all make some great money together. But I don't feel the need to oversaturate that or do too much in that space, because I'm almost 42 now, Jimmy. And,
39. I got it right now. 39.
But who knows? My kids are young, so there's probably going to be a patch of time where I'm going to want to just kind of, where'd he go? But I plan on taking care of myself. So I'll probably be able to come back and kick somebody's ass no matter what, and at least play that role. Anyways,
Right.
look at, and then have somebody fall down for me. But yeah,
I
good projects. I definitely would love to be a part of those.
got it. All right. You said you take care of yourself. Will you treat yourself and pig out on Thanksgiving, or you take it easy? I want the Roman Reigns Thanksgiving. Watch football. What are we doing on Thursday?
Well, yeah, everything's kind of planned around that meal or that couple meals throughout that day. But yeah, we stay on a strict plan up until that and just set it up and manipulate all the macros to where we need that meal. We need that meal to be big. That way we can eat that big meal.
So
And then,
even
yeah,
on
watch
Thanksgiving,
football.
you're watching everything you put in your body, even on Thanksgiving.
Well, no, I mean, I'll probably get a couple good clean meals, regular meal prepped meals that I eat normally, while we're catering, I think. So once that food comes, then I'll have a couple of those meals. So it'll be probably the same amount of meals that I would normally eat, but just new foods that I don't normally eat added into it. So I'll enjoy that. And then it's back to business. We got to travel Friday. So it's probably like a carbless Friday when you travel. And then we'll eat some more carbs when we get there. And then it's game day Saturday. So that's kind of it.
I noticed Georgia Tech is playing on Friday. Will you and Cody? I don't know what I tried to get into your relationship, but do you have the relationship where you'll talk a little shit to each other, maybe some text messages, or he's a big Georgia guy, you're Georgia Tech. You had that famous movie scene, like, I don't want to call it a vignette that sort of cheapens it, but what would you have called that? A confrontation on the Georgia Tech field that got a lot of positive response. So what do you think about Georgia Tech on Friday?
Well, I like where we're at. It's been not an up and down season, a pretty good season. I think Brett Key has got the team where we need him. I think he's a great leader, and I think the culture is headed in the right direction, putting the game before the fame. I don't mind social media and utilizing all the tools to help the marketing of these kids, but we got to remember winning football games is the best pub you can put out there for yourselves.
They got a winning record this year, so that's good.
So I love where we're at, and look, I'm not gonna sit here and act like we don't get beat by them a lot. We do. I never beat Georgia, but I'll say this: Cody's not a Georgia fan. He's like a lot of these Georgia people. Cody is one of those guys who went to Walmart and bought a Georgia Bulldog shirt.
Oh,
And
wow.
that's it. He didn't go to the school. He may have had a couple stupid adolescent nights down there on whatever stupid street they got in Athens, but he's not a Georgia Bulldog. He's like all the other. That's the thing. And then
He was on College Game Day last week. Georgia
making picks based off of like who his aunts, uncles, brothers, mother-in-law likes. Something terrible. It was just bad strategy all the way around. That's why it took him 4 years to beat me. 5, whatever, how many years.
Oh boy,
this is a real
Georgia Tech got you more riled up than WrestleMania.
I know you got yeah.
Have you ever been the guest picker on game day? You've done that, right? I thought, you've done that.
We probably 18 or 19, I want to say.
Yeah. All right. So, like I said at the top, Survivor Series is this Saturday. Bloodline versus Bloodline. Now CM Punk's in the mix. Who knows what's going on with the Wiseman Paul Heyman not returning any phone calls. You should have DM'd him maybe on Twitter, but you don't use social media. It's a big mess. Hopefully we get some answers. I need to know as a child, as a kid. I don't want something from when you started wrestling. Favorite Survivor Series moment, because it is one of the iconic pay-per-views, or one that listen, we're at the point now where any wrestling fan, you say Survivor Series, they think of the Montreal Screwjob. But I'm even talking before that. If you got something, just curious.
I'm not a historian, and that's I feel like my career now has been so long, and I've been involved in so. I mean, I debuted at Survivor Series, so I don't even know. I got to go with that. I'm going with my debut. That's the greatest. The Shield's debut is the most special thing to ever happen to Survivor Series. I know there's actually a lot of really great debuts And that may be it. It's pretty odd how many really big time debuts happened at Survivor Series.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
believe Dwayne was one of them. There's somebody else too that I just heard, and I was like, whoa, maybe like Undertaker or something like that. I don't know. But it was
Yes, I think it.
somebody who's extremely prominent within the history of our business. It was within WWE, obviously being Survivor
Yeah.
Series. But I would say, based off of how it all shaped out, the Shield debuting was one of the greatest transitional, situations of three young talent coming in, taking the company by the neck, and this is what you have today. So, yeah, my apologies, the wise man. He should be here. We don't have his number. He should be answering these crazy historian questions that you have, while I'm busy admiring myself.
I was supposed to talk to the wise man right before Mania, and there were a lot of issues with Sports Illustrated at the time, and I had to cancel. Unfortunately, not my choice, so I never really got to speak to him going into Mania, which I would have really loved because, like I said, Mania, you guys did a hell of a job with that, and I'm sure you guys will do a hell of a job with the Survivor Series, which is this Saturday, of course, on Peacock. Will you? So you have the Survivor Series Saturday, Friday night. Will you be locked into Georgia Tech? Like, can you watch it, or do you have plans, or you have to work or anything like that, or you watch? Because if Georgia Tech wins that game, you've got some pretty good bragging rights right there.
Oh, that's huge. Yeah. If we pull that off,
maybe we'll even get a tweet from you.
Yeah. Cody, he won't see me, hear me, feel me, nothing. I'll be out of there so quick. We'll be headed back, ready to go. But no, I have to check what time that game is actually going to be.
7:30. 7:30.
Okay, so
yeah,
I'll probably be landing around that time in Vancouver. So yeah, I might be able to watch a little bit of it.
Does Georgia Tech ever ask you to help with recruits? Like with these NILs now, I would imagine, hey, we could get Roman Reigns to call you up and say, hey, this is why you should come to Georgia Tech and play football for the Yellow Jackets. They'd be nuts not to use you in that way if it's possible. I just thought of that off the top of my head. I don't know.
You can't just be offering my services out like that. I'm a busy man, Jimmy.
But you sound like you would want to help the Yellow Jackets.
No, I still love Tech. And anytime I get to go back and reconnect, and there's still a few people there that I keep in touch with. But yeah, I think it's just one of those things, man. I'm at a stage in my life to where between WWE and then, a husband, father, that eats up so much of my time.
Sure.
It's crazy because I know we all go through this. Let me get real relatable on you real quick.
Yeah.
We get to this point in life where, we want to be better, I want to be a better friend. I want to be a better son, but it's hard, you know what I mean? When you have a couple, big pots on these hot burners that you have to keep your eyes on at all times. So that's definitely something in the future that I would like to be more part of. And hopefully maybe that's I'm trying to build different interests and avenues that can distract me when it's time to hang them up. And it's not going to be a situation where I'm still yearning for the spotlight or the limelight. And I need to hear that one pop again. I'm hoping to have so many different interests and hobbies to distract me that we're not going to have to worry about that. And, being able to dive back into tech and be a part of that program a little more would definitely be one of those avenues.
So you think you'd be one of the rare guys that when they're done, they're done? Because it doesn't seem like anyone's ever done in WWE.
Well, it's hard to tell, man, because it's different. And content's just, people would probably pay a lot of money just to hear me and Paul talk about wrestling or watch it live and talk about wrestling. So, and just give our take or how we think or just watch it as fans too. So I don't want to say, no, I'm going to be done because, man, if you can sit on your phone and make, a bunch of money just watching something, why not do it? Look at the Peyton or the Mannings, you know what I mean?
Yep.
So, but yeah, I want to be able, if it does come down to it and you're like, man, where did Roman go? Just assume he's catching a fish right now. That's what he's doing. He's on a boat.
All right. So we've got Survivor Series on Saturday. And you'll be on the first Netflix show. Saturday night's main event, you'll be there? Or TBD?
Netflix show. Netflix show, I believe. TBD on main event. I'm not sure about that one.
We got to get you there. It's 10 minutes from my house. We got to get you there.
2 years from now, I'll be there for you. That's our intervals right there.
Yes. No. We got to do it. Is this your first interview since coming back? Podcast?
I think so. I haven't done too many of these.
I appreciate it. I do.
My pleasure. Good to talk to you again, man.
Thanks, Roman. Appreciate it. Have a great Thanksgiving. Thanks, man.
I appreciate it. You too.